news media is supposed to inform people, to tell people what they're supposed to know to act well in the world. Instead, news media makes money when they get you to click on stuff or to view stuff. And those two are not always aligned. What you click on is not what you need to know. It's just the thing that triggered your interest in some way. What you share with other people is not what they need to know. It's the thing that appealed to your emotions the most. So what we're seeing with media is that more and more it shows people irrelevant things. It caters to their biases because if something confirms your bias, you're more likely to share it. And often it just shows people clickbait because clickbait has been optimized to get people to click. So it makes a lot more money than a real news story that is really relevant to you. Another thing that we see a lot is that media shows a lot more negative things than positive things because negative things tend to get people more emotional. They react to it more strongly. They share it more readily. And so that's what we're seeing. There's a negative bias in the media as well, just because that's what people click on. Unfortunately, you can't really pick one good publication. Every publication right now caters to the same bad incentives of trying to get content they can monetize. So the only way to really know what is going on in the world and be sure that you know what actually happened is to cross-reference multiple publications, is to use an aggregator or something that actually looked to the right, looked to the left, looked to the center, got multiple sources in the center, and to assemble a complete picture from that. There is no such thing as one good publisher anymore. The problem is that in today's environment, it doesn't pay to wait. If you report on something first, if it sounds good, if it's clickbaity enough, it's interesting for people, you got all the views. The outlet that actually got things right 30 minutes later didn't get anything. And so we're seeing people basically break a lot of stories that aren't yet ready to be written about. We used to have the standard that every story has to be double sourced. You need two good named sources confirming what you're about to report. If you look at the New York Times today, and that's one of our best outlets, you're going to see a lot of stories with a single anonymous source. Something that previously only stories like Watergate or like the Pentagon Papers would get published with. That we used to have a very high standard for most stories and we made rare exceptions. Right now, the exception is the rule. It's definitely not normal for media to be aligned with one of the parties in the past 150 years. Now, it's worth mentioning that media in the US started as partisan outlets. You had newspapers whose name was the Pittsburgh Democrat or something like that, right? And most people who subscribed to it were party officials or people involved with the parties. And those outlets were a mouthpiece for activists of that party. All that changed in the 20th century. And we had this golden period where we could actually, for the most part, trust what the media says to be unbiased. That period lasted for a few decades, and now it seems like we are out of it. AI will affect news media in many different ways. The biggest one is that AI is becoming better and better at writing, which means that the cost of writing is going down because now no longer is it something that only really qualified humans can do. You can augment more and more of that work with something that costs $0. Eventually, and I think this will happen within the next year or two, we'll get to a world where writing is no longer something that you need any human to do. AI will just be better at it and it will be free. And if you think of what that entails, a world in which writing is a zero cost is a world in which most journalists are basically PIs. They just gather facts. They don't need to describe those facts. Somebody else will do that in a free way. A world in which writing is free is a world where publications make no sense. Because why would you publish something once a day, packaging 300 articles into your daily issue? If writing is free, it can be done for you on demand when you need it, based on the latest information available. And maybe you need 5 articles and I need 5,000 articles. Why is there a daily issue of 300? A world in which writing is free is a world in which search engines make no sense in their current form. Because why do you need 10 results on the page when you just want an answer to your question that a model that read all of the possible results in the world can just provide you with? And if that goes away, then the entire ecosystem of people producing content to then try to rank it on social media and monetize the traffic they get from social media using advertising or subscriptions or something like that, all of that goes away. And that is a huge ecosystem. It's hundreds of billions of dollars. So we're in for a very large transition in our lifetime.